In April 1945, at a prisoner of war camp near Munich, an American mess sergeant found himself puzzled. He had just distributed lunch to 200 German captives, regular military provisions, bread, soup, canned meat. Nutritious fare, far superior to what the average German civilian had access to. Yet none of the prisoners touched their meals. They remained seated, eyes fixed on their trays, hands idle. The sergeant approached the inmate closest to him. "Is there a problem with the meal?" The German prisoner raised his gaze. His expression wasn't anger, it was pure contempt. "This is unacceptable food," he stated in halting English. "We are German soldiers. We cannot consume this." The sergeant's eyes widened. "You're turning down the meal?" "Correct. This fare is below our dignity." The sergeant promptly informed his superior, who in turn escalated it up the chain. By the following morning, the matter had landed on General Patton's desk. 200 German prisoners of war reject American cuisine, deeming it unworthy of them. That's the situation Patton confronted. Before we go further, please hit the subscribe button. We share World War II tales that reveal what occurs when arrogance collides with harsh reality. That mess sergeant was Staff Sergeant Michael O'Brien, a 32-year-old from Boston. For half a year, he had managed the POW camp's kitchen operations. He had witnessed many scenes. Inmates thankful for any meal. Inmates weeping at the sight of genuine bread. Inmates devouring food so quickly they fell ill. Yet never had he encountered prisoners declining to eat, especially not when the food was of high quality. The provisions he offered that day were typical American military rations. White bread, vegetable soup containing actual meat, tinned beef, coffee, and sugar. By April 1945, most German civilians would have committed desperate acts for such a meal. The nation was in the grip of famine. German cities lay in ruins, and supply chains were obliterated. Yet these 200 captives, all belonging to the 116th Panzer Division, sat motionless, as though they had been offered refuse. O'Brien moved along the rows, perplexed. "Is the food contaminated? Did we prepare it incorrectly?" A German corporal replied. This corporal's English was more fluent than the rest. "The food isn't spoiled, it's simply unsatisfactory. We are Wehrmacht soldiers, we uphold certain standards." O'Brien gaped at him. "Standards? You've lost the war, and are captives. This is decent food." The corporal remained impassive. "We would rather have German rations or nothing at all." O'Brien escalated the matter to Lieutenant James Parker, the camp's executive officer, a 6-year-old from Chicago. Parker entered the mess hall, surveyed the 200 untouched trays, and observed the 200 Germans seated with folded arms. He attempted to engage them in rational discussion. "Gentlemen, these meals comply with the Geneva Convention. It's wholesome food you must eat." The corporal rose and addressed the officer on behalf of everyone. "Lieutenant, we are grateful that you observe the conventions, yet we cannot consume American provisions. That is not the diet of German soldiers. We ask for German military rations. Otherwise, we will not eat." Parker surveyed the mess hall, noting the untouched food and the defiant attitude. "Let me make sure I understand. You're refusing to eat, not because the food is bad, but because it's not German." "Correct. You understand your prisoners. You are not entitled to make demands." The corporal's expression remained composed. "We are not issuing demands, we are merely opting not to consume food that falls below our standards." Parker exited the hall and proceeded directly to the camp commander, Colonel Robert Hayes, a 41-year-old career officer from Philadelphia. Hayes heard the report, then walked to the mess hall to witness the scene firsthand. 200 Germans were seated, refusing to eat, arms folded, simply waiting. Hayes spoke straight to the prisoners. "I've been informed that you are rejecting this meal. I'd like to understand the reason." The corporal rose once more. "Colonel, with all due respect, this food is unsuitable for German soldiers. During the war, we upheld particular standards. We aim to continue upholding them now." Hayes paused briefly. "You kept up standards even while losing the war?" "We fought honorably, sir. So now you are hungry, yet too proud to dine on American cuisine? We would merely like German rations, since we remain German soldiers." Observing the overflowing trays, the blatant waste, and the sheer arrogance, Hayes reached a firm conclusion. "All right, you're not obligated to consume American provisions. Sergeant O'Brien, clear away everything. This unit receives no further service. They have declined our supplies. That decision will be honored." The German soldiers appeared bewildered. A corporal interjected. "Sir, All we ask is to be given German army rations in exchange. Hayes faced him. German rations are not available. What we have is American food. Since you turned it down, you'll receive none. You are dismissed. The guards evacuated the dining area. Hungry, the Germans were escorted to their quarters. O'Brien then inquired. Hayes asked, Sir, should we keep refusing food until they consume what we provide, or until I receive new instructions? Later that afternoon, Hayes composed a detailed report of the incident and forwarded it through command channels. It progressed to division headquarters and onward to Corps. The following morning, the report landed on Patton's desk at 3rd Army HQ. He perused it during breakfast, his expression growing sterner with every sentence. His aide stood by, awaiting his reaction. Patton set the report aside. 200 German soldiers rejecting American provisions, deeming them unworthy. Correct, sir. The camp commander has halted their rations and is awaiting direction. Patton remained silent in thought. He then grabbed a pen and scribbled directly on the document. Keep things as they are. No meals until they accept what's provided. In 72 hours, I'll personally inspect the camp. Should they still refuse to eat, I'll speak to them directly. Mini read GSP. He passed the paper back to his aide. Transmit that right away. Sir, 72 hours equals 3 days. There's the Geneva Convention. Under the Geneva Convention, we must offer food, which we are doing. They are the ones declining. That's their prerogative. Dispatch the order. The aide complied. Upon receiving Patton's reply, Colonel Hayes reviewed it and assembled his officers. General Patton's instructions are clear. The 116th Panzer Unit gets no food until they agree to American rations. He arrives in 3 days. Lieutenant Parker inquired, Sir, what if they hold out? In that case, General Patton will take matters into his own hands. The initial day posed no hardship for the Germans. Accustomed to skipping meals, they had previously battled on empty stomachs. Going without food for a few hours was trivial. They lounged in their quarters, chatting and bantering. A few even belted out Wehrmacht marching songs, as if making a statement. The U.S. Guards observed silently. As night fell, a few of the younger detainees began feeling severe hunger pangs. However, the senior prisoners maintained discipline. Corporal Ernst Weber then spoke to the assembly. Recall our identity. We belong to the Wehrmacht. We never plead. We never surrender. We uphold our principles even in this place. The captives nodded in agreement, feeling a sense of pride. Day 2 proved more difficult. The dining facility stood directly adjacent to their quarters. The aroma of meals being prepared for fellow inmates and the U.S. sentries wafted through. They detected fresh loaves, coffee, and meat. Several of the younger German soldiers lingered near the windows, observing while their stomachs rumbled. Weber maintained their unity. This challenges our resolve. The Americans believe we'll crack. We'll demonstrate German fortitude. Yet by the second evening, the humor had ceased. The songs fell silent. The detainees merely sat, gazing blankly, preoccupied with thoughts of nourishment. A youthful soldier named Klaus stepped toward Weber. Corporal, a number of us are extremely hungry. Maybe we might. Absolutely not. We've stated our stance, and we adhere to it. But Corporal, it's merely sustenance. It doesn't imply. It signifies everything. We aren't beasts. We are warriors. Behave accordingly. Klaus returned to his cot, reclined, and attempted to rest. His abdomen ached. The third day brought a change. The captives awoke feeble and lightheaded. Several needed assistance to rise. The scent from the canteen had become agony. They overheard other inmates dining, conversing, chuckling. Yet the 116th Panzer Division remained quiet, famished, biding their time. That afternoon, a jeep arrived at the facility. General Patton stepped out. Colonel Hayes greeted him at the entrance. General, the circumstances remain the same. They've still not consumed any food. 3 days? Affirmative, sir. 3 complete days. What is their condition? Frail, famished, yet they continue to decline. Patton nodded. Lead me to their location. Hayes guided him to the quarters and swung open the door. 200 German inmates were seated on cots or standing near windows, all emaciated, feeble, and starving. Upon spotting Patton and his 4-star insignia, they gradually rose to attention. Despite their frailty, they retained their military bearing. Patton strode to the middle of the space and surveyed them. I'm informed that you have rejected meals for 3 days since U.S. provisions are below your dignity. Corporal Weber advanced. General, we are merely upholding our principles as German troops. Patton fixed his gaze on Weber. Principles? You're wasting away. Yet you cling to principles. That's correct, sir. Allow me to explain principles. I've battled your forces for 3 years across France, North Africa, Sicily, and Germany. Do you know what I've discovered? Weber remained silent. You're competent fighters, well-disciplined and resilient. I admire that. The Germans appeared astonished. However, you were defeated. Do you understand why? Because discipline lacking logic is merely foolishness. And at this moment, you are acting foolishly. Weber's expression hardened. General, we remain here starving, even though nourishment is accessible and nutritious. Nourishment, because you consider it inferior to your status. That isn't discipline, it's arrogance. And arrogance holds no value once you're deceased. Patton pivoted to speak to the entire room. This is the truth. The conflict has ended. You have been vanquished. Your nation lies in ruins. Your military no longer exists. Chances are, most of you don't have homes to go back to, but you're still alive and we're providing meals. This is better than what most Germans are currently eating. He stopped speaking. Let that sit with you. I've seen German cities, Berlin, Frankfurt, Munich, turn to rubble. Your countrymen are starving on the streets, consuming whatever they can scavenge. Yet here you sit in a camp with beds, shelter, and food being offered, and you're rejecting it out of pride. Another silence. You can cling to your principles, stay here and starve, prove whatever point you think you're making. Or you can eat, survive, go home once this ends, help rebuild your nation, aid your families. It's your call. The room went silent. Patton turned toward Weber. What's it going to be, Corporal? Weber stood there, all eyes on him. The burden of 3 days, the weight of 200 men waiting for his decision. At last, he spoke. If we eat, do we still have your respect as soldiers? Patton looked directly at him. You have my respect because you stayed with your men for 3 days, even when it was foolish. That takes courage, but courage doesn't fill your stomach. Choose wisely. Weber was quiet, then nodded slowly. We will eat. Patton turned to Colonel Hayes. Feed them. Same rations as all the others. Within an hour later, the mess hall was packed with 200 Germans eating American bread, American soup, American coffee. Some wept while they ate. Some couldn't devour it fast enough. Some savored each bite slowly. Weber dined in silence with his men. Lieutenant Parker stood nearby, observing. He leaned toward Sergeant O'Brien. 3 days, all because they thought American food was beneath them. O'Brien nodded, and a single speech from Patton broke their resistance. He didn't break them. He gave them permission to let go. After that, the 116th Panzer Unit never refused food again. They ate whatever was served and survived. Most of them went home after the war ended. Years later, some told the story of the 3 days they refused to eat, and how Patton came to the camp. One of them, a young private named Klaus, said it changed his entire perspective. We thought refusing made us tough. Patton showed us it only made us hungry. Real strength is knowing when to release pride. Patton never mentioned the incident in his diary, nor did he speak of it publicly. For him, it was clear. Foolish pride gets people killed. Smart soldiers stay alive. Would you have surrendered after 3 days? Or persisted in refusal? Tell us in the comments. And if you want more World War II stories about pride meeting reality, be sure to subscribe.